Who that you that say that's on TV? Big dog, he the voice of the streets. It's too much killing in the hood, why they creeps out the violence? Look at your little kids, how you say that's not your problem? Yeah, we gon' debate after that. What, wait, teach these brothers that they kings, maybe they won't have to dream. It's a new day, a new era. Time to fall in love with that black that you see up in that mirror, nigga. Peace and love, unity and power. But sit your ass down, it's for the scholars. Minute after minute, hour after hour. Let me shout out my Yahweh. You can shout out what you lean on. We going live, bring your screen on. Grab a seat, get this knowledge when the team on. Better pay attention before you end up in detention. Let me mention who it be inside that TV. We got black peace, black love, black power. Inside that TV. We can reach the world of power. Inside that TV. We can do it. If we each show up, what's stopping? Inside that TV. Now you see. Yeah, outside that I don't hate you, black man. I just hate you cause you hate me. And I ain't did you nothing, but you looking all shady. Maybe it's Mercedes or that Beamer in the driveway. Maybe I can show you how to get that but you sideways. Tuning on that YouTube side net of TV. Yeah, we cooking in the kitchen, but it's no pig feet. I can give you a million years, but you can't beat me. You should try to be yourself. We can show you all the steps. What's your name? Where you calling from? Who on the line? Open up what you calling for. What's on your mind? Dig up in that bag and drop a jewel for your people. Exposing all evil. Outside that TV. Black power. Outside that TV. We can reach the world of power. Outside that TV. If we each show up, what's stopping? Outside that TV. Now you see. Yeah, outside that TV.
Very popular among people.
All right, peace and black power, everybody. Peace and black power. Hope y'all having a good evening. The Knicks is late night tonight. They just getting started, going up against the Lakers. They are in LA, and yeah, they in their town. So I think we gave up too much from Mikal Bridges. I'm just sick of him right now. But it ain't about the Knicks. It's about Brother Jabari, and I'm waiting on him to come on. And so I went to the at-law church today at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Went, sat down with Pastor Manning. And you already know I had some hardball questions. He was definitely on the hot seat. One thing about Pastor Manning is that he is transparent. He don't buck, he don't shuckle, he tells the truth. And so I'm about to show you something, but to see the full video, you already know, you got to be a member of the Patreon. And if you're a member of the Patreon, then you will be able to see the whole video. And it was good. I want to say thank you, Immortal Dragon Review. Thank you. Appreciate the $10. Hey, we got the super chat back. Let's make it a good year. Damn sure, right? Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I'm back up and running now. You know what I'm saying? I'm up and running now. I'm back, man. Got to bring this information back. I know a lot of people was happy to see me gone for a little while. I mean, I used the break. Thank you for the break. But I also want to say thank you to all those who have showed me love and support through all of that. Show love and support through all of them. You know, my sister Sakina Ra, you already know I love you. Thanks for looking out with your donations and hard earned, you know. So I appreciate everybody for that, for the love and the support. And so now I got to work hard, extra hard, and bring y'all this information. Everything is not going to be on my Patreon. So I just want to make sure for the people that signed up, I want to feed them over there as well. So if y'all want access to all of this, $5 to become a member of the Patreon, but to see all debates is $10 a month. $10 a month. But regular interviews, $5. Y'all can see all of it. You know, but what is $10 a month, y'all? Y'all can afford that. Y'all could afford that, man. But anyway, here's Pastor Manny. Before Jabari get on, let me give y'all a little bit of what he went in, how he went in.
I'm not very popular among people, as you very well know.
Right.
Mainly because I don't lie and I don't play the games that people play.
There you go.
But I'm good.
I was watching some old clips so I can get some of these questions for you. And I found out that you was also in prison. Can you talk to us about what landed you into prison?
So I started burglarizing homes. I don't mean this to be racist, but I committed I would never burglarize anybody black, even if they were rich. I would not do that. So mainly I burglarized white people's home. Ultimately, what got me in prison, I burglarized F.W. Woolworth's son's home. I don't know if you remember the dime store, the Woolworth dime store. I knew they were at the funeral. I went into his house and I took down $250,000 worth of jewels. I took him to a small-time Italian mobster to fence them. He promised to give me $50,000. He gave me $30,000, told me he'd give me the other 20 later. Later came and went. He didn't give me the 20. I took my sawed-off shotgun and went to ask him for my money. I just happened to have a gun with me when I asked him. He punked up, called the police. I got arrested for armed robbery. In Florida, the long of it, I was sentenced to 10 years because I took both of the cases to trial. I lost both trials. And I was sentenced to 10 years. That's how I got involved, and that's why I went to prison, and that's the background behind it.
Are you in favor of the moves Trump making so far?
No, and hell no. Hell no. The LGBT community, the reason why they fight so tenaciously for recognition is that they realize that they are anti-universal principles. They are anti the understanding of the Word of God. They're anti anyone speaking. They're anti giving people freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They know what they're doing, and they're doing it because their lifestyle is universally unacceptable. But what's worse than that, it isn't about their intellectual strengths that they are defending, that the LGBTQ is known for. It isn't about their athletic skills that the LGBTQ known about. It isn't even about their race. It's about where they hold sex. It's about their bedroom activity. And that's all it's about. I mean, to raise sexual practices to a utopia of standards for life is outrageous.
Let me hear that again. Y'all. Y'all got to listen, man.
No, and hell no. Hell no. The LGBT community, the reason why they fight so tenaciously for recognition is that they realize that they are anti-universal principles. They are anti the understanding of the Word of God. They're anti anyone speaking. They're anti giving people freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They know what they're doing, and they're doing it because their lifestyle is universally unacceptable. But what's worse than that, it isn't about their intellectual strengths that they are defending, that the LGBTQ is known for. It isn't about their athletic skills that the LGBTQ known about it. It isn't even about their race. It's about where they'd hold sex. It's about their bedroom activity. And that's all it's about. I mean, to raise sexual practices to a utopia of standards for life is outrageous. I mean, what you do sexually, you want me to respect what you do sexually? You got this idea of doing it that way, and you want me to stand in my pulpit where God let me stand and respect what you do in the bedroom? Hell, I don't think the Lord will respect what I do in the bedroom. I ain't gonna tell him about that.
But during a past interview, you mentioned that you had considered being a homosexual. Do you get called out as a hypocrite when you speak against homosexuals and transgenders?
Well, yeah, when I was in prison, I did consider it. I mean, I did. I was a young man, and it was a long, hard run. But I didn't. I didn't submit to it. Right. I did consider it. I've considered a whole lot of things that are wrong. Yeah. I've considered killing some people. I haven't done it, but I thought about it. And that's what it was with homosexuality.
Do you think those were just evil demons on you, evil spirits?
No, I think it was just flesh, you know, I mean, what you're in prison for several years without having sex, you know, you might consider some other way of doing it. And that's what happened to me. It wasn't, I don't think it was demons, no.
Okay. All right, and that's why I said Pastor Manning is transparent. He could have easily ducked that question, but he kept it real. He kept it real. He said he was thinking about being a homosexual, doing 10 years in prison, but he didn't go through with it. But the thought was there. So, I mean, and he said, no, it wasn't demons. He said that was just what he was thinking about. I mean, hey, but he didn't go through with it. Anyway, let's welcome our brother, Professor. Brother Jabari is back. Jabari want to give us a rundown on Trump and the attack on the Black community. I'm interested in seeing what Jabari mean by that, the attack on the Black community. And without any further ado, peace and blessings to you, Brother Jabari. How you feeling? How you doing, brother? Your mic?
Peace. It's good to see you.
Yeah, same here.
It's been a while since I've been on. Things have been very busy, and so I certainly haven't been able to be on recently. I really wanted to have a conversation with our community around this second term that we are seeing. And I really think that it's critically important for us to analyze what's happening right now, to understand what's happening right now, and hopefully to better address this attack that we are seeing. I want to say to you that simply because something doesn't go the way you expected or the way you wanted it to, it doesn't mean that you were wrong. I remember right after the election, sa.neter, you asked me a question. You said, so Trump won, were you wrong? Are you going to change your tune? And I simply because people vote a particular way, that does not mean that clearly that doesn't wrong, that I was wrong. So we need to really address these issues. And for the people who are making comments that are not in line with my ideas, I welcome you. I welcome a conversation, right? Other than someone like Mike Lee, who is just saying stupid things. I guess he knows I'm gay because he's looking at me. He thinks I'm attractive. So he's hoping that I'm gay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Mike Lee, you are a troll. Please go back to the warm place under the bridge. That's
exactly what it is. He over here looking for me.
Where spawned you from? Go back there.
Hold up, Jabari. All moderators on deck. Remember, any disrespectful comments like that, time them out for 24 hours. We'll see them the next day. Time them out for 24 hours. I already did. I timed out 2 for 24 hours. We'll see them tomorrow if they come on. Go ahead, Brother Jabari.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us to understand what is happening. Asante Sa Akili Afuraka says, Jabari, stick to history and stop the fear-mongering BS. Let's be really clear. what
They
is
happy to
happening,
see you, Jabari. That's all. They happy
brother?
to see you, man.
Let me say, sa.neter news, current events and news are the first draft of history. There is no historian that does not pay close attention to what is happening in the news at a particular time. And so, you know, I think, dear brother, that I will run rings around you with regard to history and with regard to politics in public and events. So I think you need to sit down and listen. And, you know, if you disagree, I want you to listen and then tell me why you disagree.
There you go.
These folks are making comments. Some of them are not even real people. You have to understand this, sa.neter.
Mm-hmm.
Our community is being attacked by people who are outside of our community. And they are not above creating false individuals online. Some of these people who will say all this stuff will actually never come forward. Why? Because they ain't real. That's the reality. So I think that we need to recognize that. If you feel so strongly, brother, what's his name again? Asante Sa.Akili Afuraka, when we have the open line, come in and we'll talk. And we'll see if you are an actual real person, and we'll challenge what you are.
There you go.
That's the deal. By the way, some of you may not know this, but I have studied politics for many years. I actually took many courses on government and politics. I understand politics. I've been involved in politics and local politics. I was an appointed official for many years. And so there are lots of things that that we have to be aware of. I'm going to try to comment on the things that have been said as much as I can, while I also talk about these particular issues. And I just start by saying Ankh and Ma'at to Sanet Cortia and Sanet Sakina Ra, who are on here. I want to say peace to you all. And I also need to say, sa.neter, that this is simply round one. This is the first draft. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to talk about these issues. And there's nothing wrong with disagreeing, but when you disagree, you had better back your ideas with sources and a cogent analysis. That is what you're going to hear from me. And so if you just have feelings, then understand that what we're dealing with here, these are not feelings. This is an analysis of what is occurring, and we need to be really aware of what.
I hope you got sources.
I always do.
I know you do.
I probably have more sources than anyone that comes on your channel.
Yeah.
And some people say, why don't I ever call out the wrongs of Democrats? I don't think you've ever heard me speak. I talk about folks and the things that they're doing, but I want to hear you say, I want to say that Donald Trump is a completely different animal. A completely different animal. He has a long history of racial animus, a long history of racial animus. He has openly attacked people in our community, and his strategy is not just against the African-American community, the Latino community, but also against working class people. And so with all of those things, we need to analyze this. If you disagree, come forth with a cogent analysis, and we will discuss it. That's the reality. Okay, so let me first start by saying that some of the folks on this platform were really concerned, and this is not even necessarily about the Black community in and of itself, but they were very concerned about what was actually happening in Gaza, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, Eddie Salazar, Trump did not win by a landslide. The fact that you say that means that you are ill-equipped for this conversation. You are ill-equipped for this conversation. He did not win in a landslide. It was a very close election, as we expected it to be. So when you say things like that, obviously you don't know what you're talking about. And if you disagree, show me the sources. I want to see his sources that say that he won in a landslide. You're going to see nothing but right-wing sources that are actually easily debunked by just an analysis of the little thing we call math. This is math. Math doesn't lie, right? So we'll be able to very clearly look at this. Winning all swing states is not a landslide. No, it's not necessarily a landslide, because the swing states have smaller populations and therefore smaller amounts of the electoral college than many of the other states. And so we have to be really clear that that does not account for a landslide. Why don't you look up what electoral landslide is considered and then look at how close the actual vote was. It was extremely close. Okay. Let's analyze this. And I really want to start here. I'm not going to start in Gaza. Should I start in Gaza, sa.neter? Because so many people, while when we talk about the situation with the Palestinians, we're not necessarily talking about specifically the African-American community, but there were many people on this channel that said they could not support the other candidate because of their position on Gaza. And I remember saying, sa.neter, simply because you disagree with one person doesn't mean that by general principle, the other person who was their opponent is better. sa.neter, I've been a vegetarian for over 30 years. If I was given the choice of eating a McDonald's hamburger or rat poison, I would choose the McDonald's hamburger. So we have to understand that simply by looking at the other side, this does not mean that you are inherently doing something better. And I want to talk to some of the people that would continue to come on and challenge me on this. I want to know, where is your brother Cube, sa.neter? Has he been talking about this? Tell me what you've heard. Has Cube said anything about this?
If he knew you was on, he will be here.
I'm
gonna call him and tell him, watch. Make sure you tuned in.
I would rather him watch and then, I want him to watch and then talk. I want you to see what the ambassador to Israel said about Gaza. Are you aware of what was said? Who is the ambassador to Israel, first of all? Who knows? Who knows? Let's see if anyone is going to answer that. You didn't vote for Kamala because you didn't want men using restrooms with your daughter? What does that even mean? Do you think that she was actually in favor of men using female brother, I really think that you might actually have gone for the okie doke. That's absolutely not what that particular situation was about. I want you to see, man, I wish I had this queued already. What, I think this might be it. I think this might be it. But I want you to look and see what this actually says. You know, some of you need to stop typing and listen. You are showing your ignorance. Stop typing and listen. That's the reality. Okay. Just with regard, I'm going to actually show you for a minute what we're actually talking about. I will show it to you, but I want you to hear that the ambassador to Israel, a person who was going to be ambassador to Israel, actually said that there is no Gaza. His name is Mike Huckabee. He's the person that has been selected by Donald Trump to be the ambassador to Israel. And the Secretary of State, who's the Secretary of State now? How many of you are? No one said Mike Huckabee, by the way. So all you people who are talking and saying that I should, especially one of you said I should stick to history. Obviously, you're showing you don't know anything. You haven't been listening. Who is the Secretary of State under Donald Trump? The Mythic Man answers the question. Very few people are answering that question. It is Marco Rubio. I'll talk about the transition issue later. I will, if you'd like to. Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio actually, when asked whether he had a problem with the large number of people who died in Gaza, we're talking about over 40,000 people who were killed, he said that he blamed Hamas and he did not care about those numbers, that he thought that all of those people were being killed because of Hamas. Said nothing about the bombings, nothing about rampant destruction. And in fact, now you know that the person who is actually in charge of the United States, Donald Trump, has been saying he wants to remove all of the Palestinians from Gaza and actually create what do you call it? The Riviera of the Middle East, and showed videos. Actually, he didn't create the video, but there was an AI video created that actually displayed he and Netanyahu sitting on the beach with a sign that said Trump Gaza, a large gold statue of him in Gaza, and Elon Musk eating food in Gaza. No Palestinians present. He wants Egypt and Jordan to take all of the Palestinians. He wants to remove them from their homeland. So for all of you who were saying that you were uncomfortable with Biden's policy, by the way, I want to be clear, so was I. What I was cautioning you about was about the idea that Trump's policies were going to be much worse. And I think that even within the first 2 months, that comment has been proven. It has been proven. And for those of you who say that has nothing to do with us, if you feel it has nothing to do with you, fine. I'm speaking specifically to those people who took great umbrage, about it. So let's continue. And I wanted to come on here and do that because a lot of people were talking to me about it before the election. A lot of folks on our platform, on this platform, sa.neter, were talking about that before the election. They have not been here.
That's right. That's right.
And by the way, your entertainment, you said it has been proven, is vague. I just gave you 3 reasons why it's been proven. Obviously, you weren't listening. Clean out the wax. Take your fingers off the keyboard warrior, and listen. I didn't just say it's been proven without reasons. I just told you 3 reasons why we should be even more concerned. No, you were not listening because your comment does not make sense. Let me show. This is another part of this conversation, and this is really, really important. Kansu Ifakori says, whatever, Jabari has been exposed by his own fake ex-shrine members. I would love to know who you're referring to. Let's be very clear that the only fraud here is you. And if you disagree, come on afterwards and get your clock cleaned. sa.neter, I clean clocks on your channel like I'm a watch repair person. So if you want to say ridiculous comments, come in afterwards and get your clock cleaned as usual. So let's start by talking about this. I think that one of the things that we have to acknowledge is that many of us should have been clear that Donald Trump was not new, that Donald Trump was not someone that was different, that Donald Trump has a long history of hatred towards Haitians. And I think that his racist scapegoating of the Haitians should have been a concern for all of us. It should have been a concern for all of us. That is not what we've actually seen. And I really, truly believe that as we continue to look at this history, I want you to understand that we must be concerned about it. It wasn't just this comment. Do you remember when he said this?
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking
television.
it from
So I want to be clear that this particular issue had been addressed.
Was eaten by the people that went there.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
This particular issue had been addressed.
Hey,
And
Jabari,
yes.
I just love Kamala Harris' face expressions, man. When he was saying that. You see the way she looked? She like, what? Like just shaking her head, couldn't believe he was saying that.
Yeah, I think that she was caught off guard by it as well. I don't think anyone expected that he was going to do that, right? I don't think anyone expected that he was going to do that. We know that J.D. Vance had been saying it, and others on the far right of this United States discourse, but that's not what we expected a person running for president to say on television. And it had been thoroughly debunked, and they continued to say it. You should know that after this happened, the Haitian community was horribly attacked in Springfield, Ohio. Many Haitian families would not send their children to school. They had been ridiculed in public. And I want to be clear, the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio were there legally. They had temporary protective status and had been asked to come in because Springfield, Ohio, it was a city that was dealing with depopulation. Many people had actually left that city, and they struggled to find workers for their businesses. They asked them to come in, they recruited them, and they came. And this is the way they were treated. But this is not the only thing that he had done. Do you remember this? Here's an article in the New York Times by Michael D. Shearer, September 18, 2024. Former President Donald Trump's false comments about pet-eating Haitian immigrants are the latest in a pattern of attacks against people from the Caribbean nation. Are you aware? Here's part of what he said. Former President Donald Trump had been in office for less than 6 months when he made clear his disdain for people from Haiti, offering a revealing prelude to his recent embrace of false rumors about Haitians eating pets in an Ohio town. He has insisted one afternoon in 2017 that immigrants from Haiti should not be let into the United States, shocking his chief of staff, Secretary of State, Homeland Secretary, Security Secretary, and others gathered in the Oval Office by declaring that people from the beleaguered nation all have AIDS. That's what he was saying. This is 2017. He was attacking that republic that had the audacity in 1804 to throw off their chains of enslavement. That's what he did. We should have known as he continued to scapegoat these people that this is a real issue. And so I want you to understand this idea of them eating dogs and cats have been thoroughly debunked. It's racist. It's racist. And to say that he doesn't want them here because they all have AIDS is also racist. And we should have solidarity with our people across this world. And if you don't have that kind of solidarity, and I question how you're so darn confused. We should have known that this was happening, that his enmity towards Black people would be an issue. Let's continue. How about the way that he has attacked diversity, education, diversity, equality, and inclusion? There's a typo on my slide. I was doing this very quickly. Diversity, equality, and inclusion. That's another major talking point for him. And one of the things that he has continued to do is make it sound like any problem in the United States is the issue equality or equity, because these are all terms that are used for DEI. What he has continued to do is essentially blame Black people for every challenge that the United States has had. Listen to him as he talks about actually the plane crash in Washington, D.C. Blame this on DEI. Take a listen.
I'd like to request a moment of silence for the victims and their families, please. I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish. We are one family, and today we are all heartbroken. We're all searching for answers. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power. You have to go by psychological quality. And psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened.
Mr. President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistakes.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense. Okay.
This is the way that he is scapegoating Black people. Now, we know that DEI is simply a set of initiatives to ensure that people from diverse backgrounds are hired for jobs. That's it. That's it. It does not mean that those hires are not qualified, but these policies were created because statistically, over the decades, we have seen that Black and brown people, and that even women, are not hired for jobs and not compensated in the same manner that heterosexual white males are. And so these sets of policies were put there to ensure that people are actually being hired in many of these institutions. That's what DEI is. And I'm going to tell you, I guarantee you, I wish I had the statistics here. I don't have them in front of me, but I guarantee you that more DEI hires are not even black than black and brown people. When we talk about DEI, we're also talking about women who were discriminated in the workforce. We're talking about we're also talking about veterans who had trouble in the workforce because sometimes they have spotty records, because they have to go abroad, because their actual private hiring career might actually have taken longer because they may have been in the military. We're talking about people with disabilities. We're talking about a large number of people who have been kept out of the workforce. And DEI policies were put there to ensure that those people were able to continue to be hired. That's it. But Trump and his cronies actually were actually able to find ways to make the term DEI synonymous with black. And I think that this is really important. And Lord Abba says DEI policies had nothing to do with us. I guess you don't understand what DEI is. I guess you just don't understand what it is. And I think that you should do a little research to find out. DEI policies meant that institutions work, for example, would do recruiting from HBCUs instead of just the PWIs, predominantly white institutions. That's what the other ones are called. And so you need, I'm not saying DEI means black. I'm saying that's what Donald Trump is doing. You all need to stop typing and listen. DEI does not mean black. I did not say that. I told you, some of these people, sa.neter, just some of them. Notice that there are probably about 6 people who are typing incessantly, and they are not listening. I'm telling you, these are the dullest blades in the drawer. And so it's really important for you to listen, So how about Trump's destruction of the federal workforce? Here's an article from CNN tracking Trump's overhaul of the federal workforce. When did Trump say or insinuate DEI is black? Many, many times. And I'll show it to you. By the way, remember, maybe you haven't been paying attention. Do you remember that he said that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire? Do you remember that?
No, they don't remember. No, they don't remember that.
So whenever he talks about DEI, he's talking about black people. You are not listening. You're not listening. He does it all the time. Whenever a black person is in a place, he says that these are because of a DEI hires. He does it regularly. So this is what we have to look at. What about Trump's overhaul of the federal workforce? I want you to, first of all, look at where these people are being fired from, right? And Lord Abba, you're the smartest, stupid person I've ever heard. I've ever spoken to. She's the smartest, stupid person that is here. Anyway, so take a look. You can actually see where these agencies are. And you can see that lots of the people who are fired actually are from HUD. You know that they have basically shuttered the Agency for International Development, or USAID. They fired large numbers of people from Veteran Affairs, the Social Security Administration. All of these companies are people that are places where we see lots of firings occur. And I want you to be clear. I don't think anyone would actually say that Any administration should not look at its employees and decide whether they can trim the federal workforce in ways that are responsible. That is not what we are seeing. That's not what we are seeing. We're actually seeing large numbers of people being fired for reasons that don't make sense. In fact, for all of the new employees, they've received letters that actually are saying that they did not receive good evaluations, and the overwhelming majority of them can actually prove that they had. They are taking an axe to the federal workforce. And I want us to be clear, the federal workforce exists because they are actually providing services to the people of the United States. And if you look at the fact that we are seeing the wealthiest man in the world curb workers that are providing services to the American populace, this is noxious. It's offensive. It's offensive that he's cutting the jobs of people who are working class people. That's what he's doing for reasons that don't make sense. By the way, you know that he fired the people who will manage the nuclear weapons, right? And then had to hire them back. You know that. He actually fired the entire team that is monitoring the bird flu and then had to hire them back. So what we are seeing is a destruction of the infrastructure of the United States. But I want you to also be clear about something else. In the history of the United States, at least for the last 60 years, you will often see that the federal workforce tends to be browner and blacker than the private workforce, because these are instances where Black and brown people could actually get hired and deal with the challenges that we've often seen with discrimination. So that while the private workforce would discriminate against Black workers, the federal workforce was a bit more egalitarian. And when the federal workforce is actually controlled by court decisions and its laws against discrimination, you can clearly see that they work to actually make improvements. Is it perfect? No, not at all. But I also want you to know that when you look at the federal workforce, here's some statistics. This comes from the Pew Research Center, by the way, a really powerful research center, because what they're able to do is take incredible statistical data and analyze it in a way that is understandable, that is digestible for the average public. And they also do extensive surveys, so they also can talk to us a bit more about what Americans, what the citizens of the United States think. And I want you to look at this article, which was released on January 7th, 2025 by Pew Research Center, which says what the data says about federal workers. And here's the piece that I want you to see. How do federal workers compare demographically with American workers as a whole? The federal workforce is slightly more male, 53.8, versus 52.8 for all civilian workers. It also skews somewhat older. Fewer than 9% of federal employees are younger than 30. But I want you to look at the next paragraph even more clearly. Racially and ethnically, the federal workforce largely mirrors the overall civilian workforce, with two notable exceptions. A bigger share of federal workers are Black, and a smaller share are Hispanic and Latino. You have to understand that a large number of federal workers, a disproportionate number of federal workers, are Black. And that is what we actually are seeing. This is a major concern that we are continuing to see. And by the way, this last paragraph is also interesting. The most highly educated federal agency among those with at least 1,000 employees isn't NASA or the National Science Foundation, but the U.S. Agency for International Development. 2/3 of its 4,675 workers hold a master's degree, doctorate, or other advanced degree. Very interesting that this is the agency that they chose to shutter. Why? Because very often the reason why folks, particularly on the right, look at this this particular agency and feel attacked by it is because its job is to spread goodwill amongst people in the poorest countries, the most resource-deprived countries in the world. That is a major part of what they do. And so they were ripe for attacking. It's the first place that they sought to attack. And in addition to that, I want you to also understand that for a very, very long time, when you look at this sort of aid that goes to foreign countries, most Americans, when surveyed, believe that the United States spends anywhere between 0.5% and 0.25% of its entire GDP on foreign aid. Do you have any idea? How much of the United States GDP or budget is spent at USAID? Not 25%, not half of the budget, but less than 1% went to USAID. And what they were doing is supporting people who are struggling around the world. So the richest man in the world, who spent nearly $1 billion to get his president elected, shuttered the agency that was assisting with meager dollars the poorest people in the world. How could we not see that as problematic? How could we not see that as problematic? A recent report actually also looked at a sister who is actually, I'm going to show it, I think, who is actually South African. One of the major things that that USAID did in South Africa and Southern Africa is they assisted with AIDS programs. So I want you to look at, let's see, USAID. I want you to take a look at how this sister responds. She actually is going to the clinic for medication, and she has no idea what to do. I want you to be clear that this is what your dollars are doing. They are harming Black people around the world unless you do something. Unless we do something. Take a look at this sister. This is a short. As she approaches the clinic and realizes that she has no idea what she's going to do. Listen.
We can't hear it, Jabari. Can't hear it.
Can you hear that?
No, can't hear it.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I think what I can do is I can share it as a tab. You know what I can probably do? If I share the window, it might actually be better. Let's see how this works. Give this a try, sa.neter.
Nope, can't hear it.
Okay. Let's see if I can also share tab. Oh, you know what I probably should have done? This is what I should have done. Also share tab audio. This is probably how you'll hear it. Okay, take a listen. Wait, I'm not sharing it yet. Tell me if you can hear it now, sa.neter.
Yes, I can hear it.
Yeah, it's closed.
Yes, I can hear it.
I mean, the U.S. aid funding has been frozen, so they're closing down clinics.
I don't know what to do. Serious. What will I do? There's nothing.
Clinics like this are a lifeline for people in this community, especially women suffering from HIV. This one, now shut, is a huge disappointment for people just trying to stay alive. Are you trying to go
That's
to
the kind of thing that is happening right now.
What happened?
And we have a lot of work to do to ensure that the wealthiest nation in the world, actually does some things that are helpful for the people of the world. This is sometimes called soft power, right? Spreading goodwill with people around the world means that sometimes you don't have to fight people in other parts of the world. And this is of critical importance. And remember, it's literally less than 1% of the budget of the United States, like half of 1% of the budget of the United States. Most Americans think it's a lot more than that. And part of what they were doing with their anti-HIV and AIDS funding is they were making sure that they were giving babies the drugs that are necessary so that when they're born, I should say women who are pregnant, so that when babies were born, they wouldn't be born with AIDS and HIV. In the 2 months that USAID has not provided these services, it has been estimated that about 300 to 500 more children, babies on the African continent, were born with AIDS and HIV in just these 2 months. How do you defend that as the richest nation in the world? And how are some of you comfortable with the wealthiest man in the world, a white South African, a man who benefited from apartheid, closing these kinds of programs? How is this comfortable? How are you comfortable with this? These are the challenges that we will continue to face. And I think that what we need to do is we need to be very clear that this attack attacks us, not just African Americans, but also clearly also Africans worldwide. This is a major problem. This is a major problem. So let's continue. Let's continue. I want you to be clear that the major reason why Trump is cutting the federal government is because he is trying to ensure that his tax cuts, the only real policy and legislative victory that he had in his first term, the only thing that he got passed is a large tax cut. And the way that they got it passed without being called out on it, the Democrats were really, really incompetent on this, is that he was able to say that everyone was getting a tax cut. And there was truth to that. But first of all, we need to understand that the tax cut for the wealthiest Americans were actually larger, and the tax cut for middle class Americans were going to disappear in a short period of time. I think they sunset in 5 years, but the ones for the wealthiest were supposed to be there for, I think, 10 years, or is it 8 years? And so what his job is, what he's trying to do now is he's trying to make sure that he can say that he cut all of this money from the government, and he can make it make sense that those cuts will be given to the wealthiest Americans. And I want to be clear. Listen to what the AP says. It says Trump tax cuts, if made permanent, stand to benefit highest income earners. Treasury analysis shows. Let's be clear. I'm not talking about an actual left-wing source. The Treasury Department. And that is what we're actually talking about. The Treasury Department shows that it'll benefit the wealthiest Americans. By the way, Lord Abba, I don't think you want people to go back and look at our debate, because they will see you searching the mat for your mouthpiece, because you were knocked out. You were laying on the mat. The referee didn't even have to count. You was out cold. Your sources weren't sources. You said a lot of things that were ridiculous. The only person that thinks you won is you, because you are confused. Once again, you are the smartest, stupid person that I know. The stuff you said was just ridiculous. I don't even understand it. Anyway, let's continue. I also want to talk briefly about the damage that we are about to see in education, because it's going to affect Black folks more than anyone else. And so this comes from Inside Higher Ed. I'm showing you all my sources, by the way. These are sources. And for many of you who have ideas, you don't show sources. So take a look. It says a tenuous moment for minority serving institutions under Trump. This is a February 11, 2025 article by Sarah Weissman. And it says, as the Trump administration targets federal DEI programming, colleges and universities with a mission to serve underrepresented students like minority serving institutions and tribal colleges don't know where they stand. By the way, for those of you who said that DEI had nothing to do with Black people, I would love for you to read an article or two, because clearly this article is stating that as they target DEI programs, it's affecting these institutions. Take a look at this. It says, on his first day in office, President Donald Trump rescinded a slew of Biden-era executive orders and actions that he deemed, quote unquote, harmful. In his order disbanding the initiatives, he slammed the former president for injecting diversity, equity, inclusion work into our institutions, calling DEI a dangerous preferential hierarchy. Among the programs Trump slashed were initiatives Biden created to support Hispanic serving institutions and tribal colleges, and foster greater collaboration between federal agencies and institutions. Another initiative that included breaking down barriers to federal funding for predominantly Black and historical colleges also bit the dust. That same week, federal web pages with information about HSIs, that's Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges went dark. You are trying to tell me that this has no effect, that DEI has nothing to do with Black people. How did you get so confused? How did you get so turned around? You've been hoodwinked, you've been led astray. And you're sitting there, some of you, just wallowing in your ignorance. Wallowing in your ignorance. The Watcher says Hispanics. What about this? It actually says, are you not listening? It says another initiative that included breaking down barriers to federal funding for predominantly Black and historically Black colleges also bit the dust. Maybe you're not listening. You should stop typing and listen. This is the challenge we have. So many of us are keyboard warriors today. We spend so much more time talking about things that we don't know about when we should be listening. And in fact, if you disagree with me, the best way to disagree with me is to listen to what is being said and then disagree. And I see that Outside the Cube is here. And I want to say, brother, aren't you embarrassed now? Aren't you embarrassed? Because you said that you could not vote Democratic because of what was happening to Gaza. And what we have seen in 2 months is so much worse than we've seen. The Watcher says the black HBCUs are infiltrated anyway. Brother, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Infiltrated by who? What are you talking about? That's where most of the lawyers and the doctors and the architects and others in our communities get their degrees from. Are you saying that we don't want black doctors and lawyers and attorneys? I mean, I don't know what you're saying here. And obviously you don't either. And so we have a lot of challenges, and I really want you to be clear about them. Here is, and I'm gonna do this just because sometimes it's fun to show people the error of their ways. Take a look at this. You actually see here goes the piece that describes, from CNN, by the way, what Mike Huckabee said. Okay, this is what he said. Mike Huckabee once said, there's really no such thing as a Palestinian. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. By the way, this is November 24th, 2024. This is before he actually was chosen to be the ambassador to Israel. That's before this. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, I don't know if you can read this. Let me make it a little bit larger. Mike Huckabee, who President-elect Donald Trump announced Tuesday was his pick. Actually, it's not before, it was right after, to serve as ambassador to Israel, previously argued there was no such thing as a Palestinian. These are the people that Trump is bringing into office. Huckabee, who has been a strong defender of Israel throughout his career, made a statement during his 2008 presidential campaign, asserting that Palestinian identity was a political tool to try to force away land from Israel. This is the person that he's put in charge of relationships with Israel. Like I said before, I've been a vegetarian for oh, my screen is not sharing. Yes, it is. Can you see it? I see it.
Yes, your screen is sharing.
Yeah, sharing. Someone said it's not sharing. I'm not sure what you're
sharing, bro. Someone
said that, but I'm not sure why you're not able to see it. I'm hoping you're able to see it better. In a video obtained by CNN's Andrew Kaczynski during Huckabee's 2015 run for president, Huckabee suggested that if a Palestinian state was to be created, it should be in neighboring countries like Egypt, Syria, or Jordan, rather than within Israel's borders. This is what Trump is actually arguing now. Basically, there really is no such thing. I need to be careful about saying this because people will get really upset. There's really no such thing as a Palestinian. That's what he said. This is what he said. This is what he said. This is the person that's now in control. This is the person that, I'm sorry, Brother D. Shabazz, I'm glad you can see it now. This is the person that's now in control. And I want to be clear that the Secretary of State actually, let's see, Marco Rubio, these are the people that he's put in charge of these relationships. Marco Rubio actually said many other things about Gaza that we should be concerned about. And this is right after he actually, let's see, right after. Oh boy, this is 14 hours ago. This is hot news. This is new. Take a look at what he says. He even has, this means it's yesterday, he even has his sign of the cross in ash on his head. Take a listen to what he says.
Marco Rubio is with us. Mr. Secretary, good to have you. Thank you for being with us.
People don't realize the president meets with these people. He hears their stories. He's outraged, and rightfully so. He's tired of watching these videos every weekend where hostages that are emaciated are released and bodies are turned over. And sometimes it's the wrong bodies, and this 5 here and 3 there, and these games that are being played. And he's lost his patience with it. He's been very clear about this from the beginning. He's created space and time for this to be solved. And now it's time for seeing it come to an end. It's enough of this already. These people have been in captivity now for over a year and a half. These are monsters. It needs to stop. And you know, I wish there were more international pressure along the same lines here. But I'm glad he's putting those statements out. I think he doesn't say these things and not mean it, as folks are finding out around the world. If he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. He'll do it. And so they better take that seriously.
I want you to recognize that he said nothing about the 40,000 people who have been killed. He said nothing about the Palestinians. His concern was only for Israel. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. And so I really think that you should be, oh, here goes. Rubio in Israel says, oh, they took down the page. Says Hamas must be eradicated. I'm going to show you that one later. These are the people that he's put in charge. And let's be clear that Trump has actually said that he really wants Gaza to be a resort. That he's not expecting that Gaza is going to be a place where Palestinians are able to return. He believes that they should be gone. Once again, no comment about the Palestinians. Listen to what Trump says. I'm going to play this one too, because I like you outside the queue, but this is what I was trying to tell you. This is what I was trying to tell you was going to happen, and you didn't listen. Listen to what you did not listen. You did not listen. I was trying to tell you, and now it's happening within 2 months. 2 months. Listen to how it even seems he surprises the actual. You can only call Netanyahu a supporter of genocide. You can only call him that. You can only call him that. And he seems surprised with what Trump says about Gaza. Take a listen.
I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there.
Did you just hear that he said it should not be rebuilt and have Palestinians live there? Did you hear him just say that? Let's continue.
Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that. We're a respected nation again. A lot's happened in the last couple of weeks. We are actually a very respected nation again.
This is the kind of thing that we are actually seeing. I will be the first to tell you that I did not approve of Biden and Harris's, mostly Biden, because Harris was not president, Biden's policy on Gaza. He sought a ceasefire. He was concerned about the Palestinians, but I didn't think he was concerned enough. He fought for more aid to be going into Gaza. He built a floating pier so that more aid could go to Gaza. He was concerned about Gazans, but still, United States foreign policy has been so conjoined with the interest of Israel for decades that that was all he would do. This was not a Biden problem. It's an American foreign policy problem. But I want to be very clear that what we are seeing Trump do is so much worse. It's so much worse. I'm not sure if those of you who were paying attention, and I know that some of you are, of course, there's some in the chat that never pay attention. I don't know how many of you noticed that right after Trump made these remarks, an Arab group, a pro-Trump Arab group that was called Muslims for Trump, changed their name. This is an article in The Hill from Philip Timotja. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Timotja actually says it was written on February 5th, 2025. And you'll actually see here a pro-Trump Arab American organization which performed voter outreach on his behalf to the Arab American communities during his 2024 White House run has changed their name after the commander-in-chief's remarks about taking over Gaza. The group's name changed from Arab Americans to Arab Americans for Peace. I want to be clear that this was a major, major issue, and that we should have seen this coming. We should have seen this coming. Clearly, American foreign policy with regard to Israel has been broken for many, many decades. And I disagreed with Biden's approach. I would have thought that what he should have done is refuse to give them any more arms at first. Refuse to give them aid. That's what he should have done. But that's not what he did. And now we're actually seeing that Trump is doing things that are much, much worse. I really think that what we have to do, the Watcher says, does your fraternity require you to vote or support Democrats? My fraternity actually says that I shouldn't speak to people who are ignorant. So that's the last comment I'll make to you. Really, what I really think that we need to do is we need to be really, really clear about what's happening here, and really be ready for these next few years. And I want to say to you folks, this is just part one. We'll do another one, perhaps even next week. But I think that we need to pay close attention. Sa.neter, I do have a few moments.
Okay, let's go.
I gotta get up really early for class. I have 8:30 class. But for those of you who want to say something, who might disagree, please come on in. Let's talk.
All right, Brother Carl, no profanity. Let's go. You have a question or a statement? Let's go.
No, I would just like to make a statement. How you doing, Brother Jabari?
Peace, brother. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I've been watching you guys for a minute, especially you, Jabari, since you've been on sa.neter. But I appreciate your standpoint. But what do you think in the next 4 years can happen positive with Trump in office? If anything, what do you think? That's the question. And like I said, I'm a big fan of yours too, Jabari. I just want to ask you, what do you think positives can come from Trump being in office in the next 4 years?
Are you saying, are there things that we might be able to do with Trump that we weren't able to do with another administration? Is that what you're asking me? That perhaps his being in the presidency would be good for Black people in some ways? In some ways,
what do you think positive can come out of him being in office, if anything, for Black people?
Well, generally I won't support people who don't see me as human and don't respect me, right? And very clearly, Trump has had a long history of racial animus and racism towards Black people, right? I don't think that in his second term, in his final term, that he is going to feel that he needs to do anything to at least confuse people about his positions. This is worse than I thought it would be earlier than it was supposed to be. I'm not seeing anything positive in what Trump is doing. I have not seen one silver lining in a dark cloud. And I must say to you, I was really concerned and dismayed by his first term. But there were opportunities in some instances to try to have, for example, some celebrities ask him for things. He tends to also sometimes really do things based on how people create personal relationships with him. I thought that there might have been some celebrities that might have gotten him to do some things. So, for example, one of the things that he did was he took some action against mandatory minimums, and that was because there were celebrities that spoke to him and developed a personal relationship. That was the one thing that I thought that he might have done that was positive. It wasn't as profound as what we saw, for example, under the Obama administration or the Biden administration, but it was something. I'm not seeing any of that as a direction, a trajectory for the second Trump administration. So if there is something that is going to be positive that we're able to do with this administration, I don't think that any of his early signs lead us to believe that.
No. I'm going all the way across the board the way y'all came in. There's absolutely no profanity, family. And so Brother Lord Abba, you on the call next.
Peace. What's going on, Sa? I'm listening to Jabari sound like Joy Reid and the rest of the liberals, because he's definitely a liberal from MSNBC. And I'm sitting here and I'm getting disgusted, right? Because while Jabari plays with ankhs and Egyptian figurines in his off time, we do politics every single day, around the clock. So I know for a fact that most of what he presented here is a bunch of gaslighting, because we hear it and we do battle with it. Because for us, don't gaslight my people. Tell my people the truth. The Democrats are losing. This messaging that Jabari is doing, it's losing more and more people. Watch this.
We're not hearing you anymore.
Yeah, so because I'm on my phone, so I was trying to read the stuff that I do have in my phone, but I was going to break down the diversity officers, the chief diversity officers, DEI officers in the nation, 76% white.
Turn on the camera so people can see your face, man.
I'm relaxing, so
Okay, all right.
let me relax. I think I deserve a relaxed pass.
Yes,
I've
sir.
been
You
doing
got
this for a
do your
long
thing. Do your thing.
right? So chief diversity officers, right? So you start at 76% white, then you go to 3.6% black. We never needed DEI to get the jobs that we have. We just didn't need it. So this idea that DEI equals blackness and that these programs that are being suspended, what the part that Jabari and the liberal media is leaving out is where it says until further review, because they're reviewing every last one of these agencies, and slowly but surely they're re-implementing them. They're rehiring certain folks. This is something Jabari had to admit to, because somebody would have came up here and caught him in the lie that he's trying to spread to the rest of the people. So you could call me the smartest dumb person and all of that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it a little bit of time. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to debunk everything that Jabari said tonight, because it's easy to debunk. Like I said, we do this every single day. So that's all I got for now. I will be responding. And oh, wait, one last thing. Jabari, you didn't defeat me. You got crushed. You can't mess with me on no topic, bro.
What was the name of that debate y'all had, man?
Well, remember, I didn't know it was going to be a debate.
Right. What was the name of that?
I can't remember. It's Lord Abbott, Jabari, Trump. Y'all punched that in. Lord Abbott, Jabari, Trump, sa.neter.
All right. Okay.
Should come up.
All right. Let me move on.
Wait a minute. I got to respond, sa.neter.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want you to know that Lord Abba is citing a statistic without a source. The only source that he could use are comments that people made that have been disputed. He says that 76% of chief diversity officers are white. But here's the deal. Even if that was true, I want you to understand that DEI programs were simply created to ensure that people from different backgrounds would be hired. That's what DEI is. Am I saying they're perfect? No, not at all. The white supremacist system still exists. You think that just because some companies had DEI initiatives that they worked well? What does that mean? Even if it was true that most of the diversity officers were white, does that mean that they weren't hiring people that weren't being hired before? What are you saying? His statistic, first of all, has no proper source. I've already studied this statistic, so I know that you're going to give a source from Yahoo Finance that has been disputed. And the source of that is, I just want you to come with your source. I shouldn't even be telling people sometimes that I'm going to bump them on their ears. But that's where your source is. And if you're talking about the LinkedIn source, it cites the Yahoo Finance source. See, he doesn't know how to read a source. Poor Lord Abba. This is like a man beating a baby. Sometimes I feel like I should stop. That's how I feel.
Don't kill him, Jabari.
And the reality about this is also that if you're saying that the programs weren't working well, so you're saying that you should get rid of the program? So that's like saying I have a weight problem, and you know what? When I was dieting, I didn't meet my weight goals. So you know what? I'm gonna just eat hamburgers and Big Macs all day because I didn't meet my weight goals. So why should I diet at all? That the logic of his argument falls apart. Trump is now saying that there should be no diversity and equality programs. That's what he's saying. Do you think that the workforce in the United States is diverse enough? Is that the question is that what you were saying?
I can respond if I can. 20 seconds.
Respond. You spoke already.
No respond. I got to go. I got to go
already, and now it's my turn to respond.
Well, typical, right? Run over the. I got you.
And so, it is very clear that what he's saying doesn't make sense. And I also want you to hear that DEI programs being black is what Trump is doing. None of these people that run these programs argue that DEI means black. Trump is the one that's doing that. I'm not saying that DEI means black. He's saying that. You're trying to say that Trump is wrong, so Jabari is wrong. I'm not agreeing with Trump on this, but I am saying that he's using DEI, the term DEI, as a scapegoat, a racist scapegoat. He's using it because he can't say the N-word. That's what he's doing. Are you forgetting that whenever he saw black people in high places, he said they were DEI hires? He said that about the black female Supreme Court justice that was just put onto the court during the Biden administration. He said that about Kamala Harris. These people have impeccable credentials, and he still called them DEI hires. He's the one that says that DEI means black. He's the one, not me. But I am saying that we should get to the point where we are able to say that there's a problem with hiring in the United States. If you don't know that, I don't know where you live. And that we should have programs that seek to address that. Are the ones that exist enough? No. Do they work well? In some places, yes. In many places, no. But that doesn't mean you get rid of them.
All right, Jabari, we want to move on so you don't
Please
be too
go ahead.
We got a full house tonight. We got Nepal Shadar next, and then we got Cube right after Nepal. Nepal?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator. Peace, Brother
Peace.
Jabari.
Peace. How are you, Queen?
I'm great, and I'm glad you're doing this. I wanted to come up here and have you just to ask you to speak on this recent meeting with the president of Ukraine. You didn't touch on that, and I know you will. If you could talk to us about that meeting with Zelensky, and also the rare minerals, like negotiation that they're trying to do. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's going on over there as well with Trump? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I really do think that Trump is shifting this country towards Russia. And I'm stunned. I'm flabbergasted that he's doing this. And the Republican Party, who used to be so anti-Russia for such a long period of time, actually is going along with it. I don't even understand what they look like now. It's really, really bizarre. And so that is what they're doing. And he's doing this. Maybe there's compromise against him. Maybe there is. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why he's doing it for sure. I do know that he seems to like people who are dictators, right? He actually attacks the countries that the United States has close relationships with, and he cozies up to countries that are our geopolitical adversaries. And he's doing that. You should see the Russian news right now. They are saying they're surprised that he's going so hard towards the direction that Russia wants them to go in. And I'm going to tell you, if Ukraine falls, we should expect Poland to be next. We should expect countries that are actually part of NATO to be next. This is a major concern because when we see that countries can simply take other countries, and that the United States of America, which believes itself to be the greatest democratic institution in the world, is actually going to allow a place that does not have democracy to take over one that does, this is a concern. I honestly believe that the way that the United States has worked with regard to Ukraine, I do believe that the United States should support Ukraine. By the way, you should also know that we have an agreement that says that we should. More about that in my former discussion. But I want to also let you know that I did think that the United States was supporting the Ukraine and ignoring places like the Sudan, ignoring places like the Congo. And so there was a great imbalance. But having said that, that does not mean that we should now cozy up to Russia. And that is exactly what Biden is doing.
Right. Thank you. And one more thing. Did you hear the quote that during the meeting, Zelensky made this like a veiled threat, like you guys are next. Do you think you're across? Did you hear him say that?
I did.
And that's what triggered them to go ape
No, I don't think that it triggered them, because you have to remember, in the weeks before Zelensky's visit, he was already calling Zelensky a tyrant. He was saying that Putin had suffered. So I don't think that was a trigger. And when Zelensky said, "You will be next," what he was trying to say very clearly, if you listen to what he's saying, is, okay, he's fighting me now, but you're going to end up having to fight him if we lose.
Right.
That was what he was saying.
Right.
And I think that is the concern. Lord Abba says, Jabari now cares about Tomhu countries. Wow. Well, let's be very clear, brother. I do more than play with Egyptian, as you say, figurines. I actually study this. And I've studied this probably for longer than you've been alive. And maybe you should actually clean off your dusty fez, since you want to talk about my spiritual tradition, and open up a book on government. Maybe that's what you should do. Because what I am seeing you do, your shift, brother, has been towards the right. And it's a concern. You are not arguing on behalf of Black people. You haven't for at least 2 or 3 years.
Sir, you gotta let me respond to that, sir.
I wonder what's happening.
No, I gotta go around.
Responding to what you wrote. You already did respond. You responded in the chat. We saw what you wrote. That was your response. I'm responding to what you wrote. Anyway.
All right, let's move. Cube, you on the call, brother. There's no profanity. Remember, everybody, no profanity. Cube, you on the call?
You're
muted.
If you're trying to speak, you're muted.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Brother Jabari, can you hear me okay, brother?
I already said I could hear you, brother.
Okay, good. Well, see, this is the problem. I think that you don't understand what you're talking about. I think you don't understand what you're talking about. And it's understandable, because you're a liberal. So I want to ask you, when it comes to the liberals with the likes of yourself, what do you see America as in, let's just say, the future, 10 years from now? Well, 20 years from now, what do you see America? Because we have to look at useless liberals like yourself. What do you see America in 20 years from now?
Well, Cube, I'll allow you to call me a liberal if I can call you a neo-Nazi. How about that? Because you're cozying up with neo-Nazis.
I'm totally cool with that.
So,
I'm fine with that.
So he said he's cool being a neo-Nazi.
Yes, as long as you would answer the question.
And
all I want
I'm willing. I am willing. I'll let you say that if you're going to say something ridiculous like that. And the reality is, my issue with you, Q. You're not someone who I have a problem with. I just think that your analysis during the election was off kilter. We've had many conversations that were good, and I respect you as a person. I just think that your analysis was wrong.
Okay,
so I'm not going to sit here.
Hold on, really quick.
Wait a minute. My discussion with you was entirely about your position on Gaza. And notice that within 30 seconds, he dropped Gaza. Why? Because he knows the ground he is standing on is unlevel. That's why he dropped. Now he wants to know where I think the country's going in 20 years, rather than acknowledge that he said that he could not vote for Kamala Harris because of her position on Gaza. And I said, Cube, I don't agree with Biden's position on Gaza either, but Trump is worse. That's what I said to you. And now all of a sudden, when I proved that in 2 months, his policy is absolutely towards the genocide of the Gaza people and taking their land and making a resort for the wealthy, now you don't want to talk about that anymore. Why? Because you see that you were wrong.
Excuse me, my friend. Do you want to talk about Gaza, or do you want to talk about the question that I levied upon you? Which one do you want to do?
Brother, are you responding
hold on,
to what I said about you?
Hold on, really quick,
Because
really
to
quick.
be honest, my
Hold on, sir.
presentation,
Hold on, really
my
quick.
presentation is not about where I see the United States in 20 years. My
Sir,
presentation
that's
is about
fair.
the
Listen,
problems that
listen
we
to me.
have with the
Listen
Trump
to me.
administration and about
Listen
the
to me.
things that you said about the
But
Trump
listen to me.
administration with regard to Gaza.
But
Now
hold on,
you're trying to no.
Hold on, Q.
Now you are trying to talk about something that has nothing to do with any of our conversations.
So we'll answer my question then. How about that?
I'm not answering your question.
Thank
Because
you.
your
I
question
appreciate
is
that.
a non sequitur.
I appreciate that.
He
that
wants
you
me
did
to
not
talk
answer
about
my
where I
question.
think the
Thank
country
you.
will be in 20 years.
Thank
That's
you
not
for
what we're
that.
talking about.
Thank you for not answering
How
my
about
question.
we talk about what your favorite brand of sneaker is?
No. Thank
Or
you for not
why don't we
answering my
talk about
question
what
because
your favorite basketball team is? These
are
are
you
not
gonna
part of the conversation.
are you gonna speak or am I gonna speak? How's this gonna work?
Actually, this is my show. So you know what? You'll speak when I'm finished.
So let me know when you're done so I can speak.
I want you, because you've come in to respond to my presentation, and you're not talking about my presentation. And then you say, you won't answer my question. Your question is for another day. My issue with you was your take on Gaza. And then you came in here and didn't talk about Gaza. Okay. Am I the only one that sees what he's doing?
No. Hold on. Let's rewind. Now, what you're saying is you have control over the conversation, right? You have control over the conversation, right or wrong?
The person who has the ultimate control is sa.neter.
No. But you, sir,
as the person who actually came in to do a presentation, I do have higher billing and more control than you do.
So with that being said, let's be fair and let's talk to each other and let's talk about the conversation at hand. So when I spoke to you originally about the conversation at hand, when we go 3-4 months ago, my conversation was about Gaza. That was my conversation. That is my same conversation today. Do you disagree that it's not that?
Of course I disagree. By the way, folks, if you hear him talking about Gaza with his questions, if you did not hear him, put a 1 in the chat, because you're trying to make it sound like it's me. You came in here and asked me where I think the country was going in 20 years rather than deal with your faulty analysis, which is the only thing that I questioned you on.
So what was the faulty analysis? Let's talk about
it. What?
Yes, let's talk about it. What was the faulty analogy?
Q, did you see my presentation? Maybe you didn't see what I said.
Sir, where was the faulty analogy? Just get right to it so we can
I just said it again. I'm going to say it for a 3rd time. Actually, it's probably like a 4th or 5th time. During the election, you said, even with people saying the most ridiculous things, you said you could not vote for the other side because you disagreed with their position on Gaza. And I said to you, Cube, I disagree with Biden's position on Gaza too. But the reality is that Trump is going to be much worse. You disagreed with me. And within 2 months, we have seen him put forward someone to be the ambassador to Gaza, Mike Huckabee, who says there is no Gaza. There are no Palestinians, that they don't exist, and that they've only been created to take land away from Israel. 1. 2, wait a minute. No, you asked me to recap, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, go ahead. I want to speak.
2, I also showed you that he put someone in place as his chief of staff, Marco Rubio, that said he had no problem with the large numbers of people who had been killed in Gaza, that the only reason why that was happening is because Hamas was hiding behind civilians. He had no issue with 40,000 people being killed, and he still won't talk about them. I just showed you a clip.
All right, y'all. We're gonna have
3, wait a minute. And then 3, I also showed you that Trump even surprised Netanyahu by saying that he wanted to take over Gaza, move the Gazans, and create the Riviera of the Middle East, a resort. And he even last week, he even shared an AI video. He didn't create the video, but he shared the video that showed him and Netanyahu sitting on the beach eating with a sign that said Trump Gaza, a large golden statue of himself, and Elon Musk eating food. No Gazans anywhere.
Let me get you out of here. Now, listen, everybody, understand this is what's called a liar. This is what's called a liar. Because even though he'll tell you that he has a problem with what Trump said when it comes to the Gazan people, he'll tell you he has a problem with that. But what he does not have a problem with is uh, 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 Biden doing the same exact thing that Trump is doing. This is what you call a piece of shit because he does not care about the Gazan people. He doesn't care about them whatsoever because Trump is doing this and saying, "Hey, this is how I feel about the Gazan people." But he's saying he's so much in line with it, even if it was a Biden that shared this video, he would be totally okay with it. So let me ask you really quick before you move past this.
All
Would
right,
you
we
be
moving on after this question.
okay with Biden sharing that video?
Are you out of your mind?
Thank
The
you,
video
and I'm
was
so
Trump.
sorry for the
Not,
people of
wait a minute.
Gaza.
Wait a minute.
I'm
Wait a
so
minute.
sorry
Wait
for
a
the
minute.
people of Gaza.
Wait
I'm
a
so
minute,
sorry.
Cube. Wait a minute. What you are saying lacks complete integrity. You're saying that I'm lying about sources that I showed. And then I showed the sources. I showed you videos of them saying these things.
Do
I
you
read
care
your
about the people
article,
of Gaza?
and then you said, wait a
Hold
minute.
on, Q. You
And then you said I was a liar when I showed you them saying it from their own mouths. I'm the liar. And then you said Biden was doing the same thing. Biden is not doing the same thing. He was never doing the same thing. Biden was trying to push towards a ceasefire. And he was also trying to get aid to the Palestinians. I have already said I did not disagree with Biden's position. I've already said that. But what I said to you then, and I'm saying to you now, is that Trump is much worse.
So you agree?
Do you not hear what I'm saying?
No. That's it. We got to move forward.
Everyone, I said it very clearly. And then wait a minute. And then you had the nerve to come on here and call me a liar when I showed you sources. What did I lie about?
All right.
You
got to get up in the morning, Jabari. We got to move forward.
What the heck?
We got a house full tonight. Seven Asar is on you, brother. Seven Asar.
Peace, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Peace to you, sa.neter. Peace to you, brother Jabari.
Peace, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. And peace to everybody in the channel, in the chat. First thing I want to say is, brother Jabari, I appreciate your presentation. Everything that you put out was on point. I've been seeing this stuff going on since Donald Trump's been president, and a lot of the stuff that he's doing, we've said he was going to do because we saw from his first administration, and we've been following him. But what's funny to me is it seems like when Brother Jabari gets on and he shows the sources and he puts together a presentation that's very well put together. You got a lot of people out here calling him liars, just disrespecting him because they don't have any idea of how to combat it because they're not paying attention to none of this stuff. They talk about Jabari's sources, but the sources they talk about him being a liberal, and when every time they try to combat his sources, they go and get conservative sources, right? So they want to claim that your sources call you a Joy Reid, and all of these things that you're putting out information, most of it is coming out of Trump's mouth. But none of these people are acknowledging this information that you're putting out because they want to battle you instead of the information. That's what I'm seeing. But the second thing I want to ask you, Brother Jabari, is who controls the House and the Senate right now?
It's quite concerning that the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and even the Supreme Court are under the control of the right wing under Trump. It's even
100%.
Because they do whatever he says. If they say something, he says the other thing, something different, they just say what he said. So it's really
100%.
It's really a concern.
It's disturbing because people don't understand that power. He controls every branch of power.
That's right.
And those branches of power were designed to check the president There's no check there, black people. And not only that, while he's in control of these branches of power, he's trying to hold on to this power forever. He signed
Yes.
81 executive orders
On day one, I think.
on
Within the
day
first week.
one.
Yeah.
On day one.
Yeah.
Now, you as a historian, you understand that black people do not fare well underneath dictatorship, do we?
No.
But we have black people supporting this administration, not knowing that he's trying to steer us towards dictatorship. He actually signed an executive order claiming that only he and his district attorney general, excuse me,
Can interpret the
will
law.
can interpret what the law is.
Yes.
People don't understand how dangerous that is for us as black people. You know, day one, he lied and told you that the groceries are going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
They went up. The gas went up. Inflation went up. He's tearing apart relations with our immediate allies in Canada and Mexico, creating tariff wars, threatening tariff wars, and aligning himself with dictators. But everyone in here is concerned on you talking like Joy Reid, and let's just talk about what's going on in America. What affects us in America is what affects us outside of this country as well. What the people don't understand. And if Trump continues to do what he's going to do, there's going to be no turning back from where we at. He's in control of every branch of the government.
Yep.
And we're in a dangerous spot right now.
All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Agreed, brother. Agreed.
We are here with our brother Revelation. Let's get it. Talk to me, Revelation.
Yo, peace and blessings to everyone. You can hear me, right?
Peace, brother. We can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, peace, Revelation.
Okay, I'm just here really to say hotep to brother Jabari, because I ain't get to talk to him since the year has started.
Yeah,
but I do have a contribution as well. So hotep to you firstly and foremost. And don't get mad at me, Jabari, because I'm gonna say some stuff. You know, you may agree with some and you would definitely disagree with some stuff.
Okay.
I kind of like Trump. Trump makes me laugh. And laughter is the best remedy and the best cure in the world for anything. So I like the way he makes me laugh. But I have absolutely no respect for Donald Trump. And I'll tell you the reason why. I see him as a coward. I see him as a coward for the way that, okay, can anybody remember when he first came into office and the Russians, they made a total and complete mockery of his wife? In Russia, they actually like held a program on the television and stuff, and it was like, damn, look at the first lady of the United States of America. That's number
pictures is what they were doing.
Okay, thank you. And you know, now if somebody does that to your wife and you don't defend your wife, you know, to me is like, how are you going to defend an entire country of women and children, you know, and all these things? So that's just number one. And then I looked at how he dealt with Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky, sorry. Volodymyr, he is like he bullied Volodymyr, but you can't do that to Vladimir, which is Putin. So that's one of the things that I look at with Trump. The other thing is I know for a certainty that he has to answer to someone as well. So I also see him as a slave because he also has a boss. But other than that, you know, he just makes me laugh a lot. He's a good entertainer, and I'm happy to laugh. But I do think about my brothers in the United States of America, and I really don't know if this is the best person to represent you guys as a country, as an outsider looking in, of course, you know. But yeah, like I said, I just came to say hotep to you, my brother. You know, that's just my little 2 cents. I'm not going to take too long. And peace and blessings to everyone again. Yeah.
All right,
peace, brother.
All right, Vernon, what's up, Vernon? You on the call? You on the call?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I hear you, brother.
Hey, peace to you, brother Jabari. Always good to see you on the broadcast, sir. Yeah, I love what you do, Doc. Quick, have you heard about the red heifers that have been tried to be sacrificed in Israel?
No, I don't think I'm aware of that. Red heifers, you said?
Okay.
You talking about cows?
Yes, sir. Right. Okay. So just check this out. I've been telling people for a while. If you don't remember, I'm a former Christian minister. I actually was affirmed as an apostle. A lot of the circles, the white evangelical nationalists that have been backing Trump, I've been trying to tell people that they've had an agenda for a while called the Seven Mountain Agenda. That's been fueled by a guy named Lance Wallnau. That they really want to control these 7 areas of life, and Trump is their messiah. That they have anointed to be the one to control the world. And there was some cows that was actually being raised here in Texas. A Christian farmer raised some cows, possibly genetically modified, but they had sent the cows to Israel to be sacrificed as their Jewish ritual to try to cleanse the priest and to start the rebuilding of the Jewish temple where the current Dome of the Rock is. And so the narrative with Hamas was that Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. But if you actually read a CBS News article concerning the red heifers, they actually have the Hamas leader talking about that Hamas got wind that Israel was going to try to sacrifice these red heifers. And that's actually why Hamas attacked Israel. Because according to Hamas, by Israel trying to sacrifice these cows, they were declaring war on Hamas. And so Hamas attacked them first, and unfortunately took the bait, was allowed to be wiped out. So that's why you see Trump now coming in and actually clearing out Gaza to try to prevent them from any hindrance from building the third temple, because based on what I believe, they're trying to set Trump up to be the Messiah, to be this new Christ. But like I said, CBS News has an article that you can read, and it actually says in there talking about the red heifers being raised in Texas by a Christian farmer, and actually the Hamas leader saying that that's why they actually attacked, that it wasn't unprovoked, but they attacked Israel because Israel was looking to sacrifice these red heifers according to their ritual. And so that's actually why they attacked. And so I was just asking you, I didn't know if you heard anything about it, but I've been trying to tell people that this is not just a political agenda, but this is first a spiritual agenda that people have going, a religious agenda that people have going on, and that they really are wanting to make Trump this Messiah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am familiar with the Seven Mountains Mandate. I was going to try to pull something up, but I wasn't able, because I saved an article and I can't seem to find it right now. I'm familiar with the Seven Mountains Mandate, and I truly believe that Mike Huckabee is an adherent of it. Right?
Right.
Not as much necessarily Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio is just he's drunk on power, right? And so he's willing to do anything that will get him power. But definitely, I think that there are extremely concerning right-wing Republicans who are Christo-fascist, who actually believe that they need to take control of these 7 areas of American life. And we should be concerned. I was not aware of the red heifers piece. I'm going to do some research on it. I will have to say, I want to say to you that my complete opposition to what Israel has done, the genocide, the near total genocide of a people, does not mean that I think that what Hamas did attacking Israel on October 7th was correct. I mean, when you kill 1,200 people who are unarmed, mostly, we should still say we should be able to do 2 things at one time and say that Hamas's actions were wrong. But clearly, we have to talk about scale, right? Now we're concerned about 1,200 people who died, and so then we'll overlook 40,000, mostly women and children, who are being murdered. I mean, there's no scale there, and we have to also recognize that one of the reasons why this situation was pushed to the point that it was is because Trump was so on behalf of Israel's positions in his first term, moving, for example, even moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, and many other things, that I think that Hamas felt they were cornered. And so they did something that was completely immoral and inappropriate. But at the same token, we have to recognize that Israel has been stifling the Palestinians for decades and now has engaged in wholesale murder in the Gaza Strip, and that is absolutely atrocious. It's the kind of thing that we have to be concerned about, even though it's not us. Even though it's not us, we should still be concerned about people in the world who are being massacred. And if we don't have a position on something like that, we're not prepared to be the global people that we once were.
All right. Hey, Vernon, you hear me? You hear me,
Yeah, I
Vernon?
hear you, Doc.
You know how to
Yeah.
put your contact in the back chat?
I see a chat in. I think I
back
see it. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, put your contact. I would like to get your information to maybe talk to you. What caught me is that you said that you was a former pastor, a former preacher, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I would
Yes,
like
sir.
to know more about that and what made you change your faith. So we can't talk about it now on this because this is a different show. But I definitely would like to talk to you about that.
And
Okay.
if you,
Yeah, no
if
doubt.
you look
I
at
appreciate it.
in StreamYard, you'll see people and comments. If you if people is highlighted, that tab, you'll be able to make a comment in the back chat.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me move on. Sakina Ra.
So do I have to? I'm sorry, real quick. Do I have to join the chat, or do I just under the people
you're
just
already
click
in
on?
here.
Yeah, just type it in. Since you're already on StreamYard, you can just type it right in there. Once you make sure that the people tab is selected, right down there it says chat with everyone in the studio. That's what
see where it says people, right there where it says people. Click that,
okay,
and then you could go in there right there.
Right.
All right, I see you. I got you, brother.
Got it.
I got you.
Thank you, brother. Good to meet you.
Appreciate it, Doc. Yes, sir. Peace to you,
And
Doc.
Jabari, peace. But Jabari, before we go on, I asked Pastor Manning, I said, are you up for any discussions? He said he will debate anybody.
Oh,
he said anybody. I said, well, when you're ready. He said, man, tomorrow if you're ready. I'm like, wow, okay. So let's go on.
I've been looking to get to Pastor Manning for a while. So
say that again.
I've been looking to get, I said to you before that I would love to debate him. He's ridiculous. And so he's someone that I would debate. By the way, before we leave,
you see the interview that we did, brother.
I only saw part of it. When I came in, I saw you were playing it. So I want to see.
When we went into the Kemet side, he was saying that, when he was talking about the you got Ham, Sham, and Japheth. He was saying the Ham people is the one that made the pyramids, that built the pyramids and all that, man. So
I don't know what to. I mean, listen,
But technically, he's right according to the Bible because that's what they believe in.
Yeah, but because you believe something, it doesn't make it historically correct.
Right. I'm saying that's why I said according to the Bible,
right?
That's what he believed. That's
right.
Right. So let's go to Sakina Ra in the building. What up, sis?
Uncle my aunt.
Uncle my I'm Intepi Jabari and Peace Queen.
Peace
Nepal
Queen.
and to everybody else on the chat. I wanted to ask two questions to Intepi Jabari. Great show. And great comeback, brother sa.neter. But I kind of want to I don't want to step on toes, so I want to ask a question. Because when it comes to DEI, because I don't really know how, I have a problem formulating questions. So one of the problems I saw with DEI, and when it came to this, and I'm not quite sure because I retired in 2019. So you brought up statistics when it came to laying off some of the people. And the numbers were in the hires were in, we know that they were new hires. And that the new hires go first, but the numbers were into ethnics being Black and brown people. Now, according to the hire with DEI was they have to hire according to statistics, just like the ones you brought up. Now that reason is because they had to have a racial balance, and the racial balance was because they had only at one point, and this was the Constitution, they only had white people and they only had men. So they had to bring in so many women. They had to bring in so many Black women. Then they had to bring in other cultures. So apparently, nepotism came into play. But then all of a sudden, the merit system got bumped out. So this is where you heard that come back in. So when they was creating job skills, you were tested, and these things. A lot of people in the industry field were tested. And now, even now in college, you get tested prior to getting in your skills. And some people don't test. Well, they still test with your ACT test, and you might just go into your classes. And if you don't, then you have to take pre-classes and then get into your courses. And so this is where you see that at. So you see people with these higher degrees and whatnot and what have you. And so this is the merit-based system. And it played out, but it played back in. And so this is some of this sway thing that happened, and it played out. So you have rights that played in the labor law.
If I can try to clarify some of this, I want to be clear that the opposite of DEI is not merit.
No,
right?
It's not.
I think that is what the right wing is trying to say, because the idea of getting something because you deserve it is within the bones of every human being on the planet.
Exactly.
Right?
Humanitarian.
And
Yes.
so they have tried to create a dichotomy that does not actually exist.
Exactly.
DEI initiatives, by the way, there are thousands of them across the country. It's not like there's one initiative, but DEI programs were created because statistically there were very reputable institutions that would do surveys and say, well, there's a better chance that, for example, a white high school graduate will get a particular job than a Black college graduate, right? So this is not about merit. Just because they're white workers, it doesn't mean they got it because they deserve it, and Black people don't get it because they deserve it. This is the same thing they were saying about affirmative action. None of those programs are quotas. There's no quota system where we have to put in 5 Black people and 3 white people, and that's not what DEI has been.
No,
DEI,
but it was part of it.
No,
it did play a role of it. It's not all of it.
Can I say this to you?
Go ahead.
I have actually worked in diversity education and inclusion before.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never seen in any of those programs anything that looks anything like a quota. What actually it does is it says we're going to recruit from certain places. We're going to have sensitivity training so that our workplace is more amenable to people who are of different backgrounds. It means that they're going to, for example, look for people who are from underrepresented communities. That tends to include Black and Latino people. It means that they're also going to, I guarantee you, and I need to do some more research, but this is my feeling here. This is not something I can prove yet. But I guarantee you that more white women were hired under DEI initiatives than anybody else.
Well, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I was just saying they had to be included. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Further, right. Okay. So and then the professionalism and some of the things that I'm seeing in the Congress, these congressional meetings and whatnot. So to base my question is, when we get to this point, because I see a lot of people, like it or not, even when it comes to you, even when it comes to sa.neter, if it comes to Paul, even if it comes to me, people are to this point with seniors or what have you, the disrespect. No matter how, if you don't like Kamala, you don't like the president, you don't like what have you, the disrespect is to the point that the president has none. Regardless if we don't like Trump or what have you, if something was to happen to the president with the disrespect that everybody sees that we have, if something happens to our president, how do we look as a nation to other nations? Do
What do you
we
mean?
not look? Do we
What do you
not
mean
look
something
weak?
happened? I don't know if I know what you mean.
This
You're
is what I'm
saying
saying. Do we not look weak as a nation?
if what?
If something happens to our president when we disrespect him, and then if our president gets if they remove him from presidency and we don't have a president, if he bow down and we get the vice president and all of this, how are we looking as a nation, as a weaker nation with no president, with the vice president stepping up to be the president? And then we have no respect for a man that we chose to be president. And look how we act. Do we not look as a weaker nation now?
I don't agree with that sentiment. I truly believe that the United States has many people in the office of president that have been reprehensible, that have been racist, that have been misogynist, that have been jingoistic, that have done many horrible things. And I don't think, as a person of African descent in the United States, that I am prepared to simply salute the president because he has a title.
No, it's
a title that. Well, I'm not saying that. I mean, I honestly believe that the things that Trump is doing right now are more deleterious, are more negative to our position worldwide than if he was not there. I honestly think that he is damaging the office of the president.
Okay, my final question was, what good was it? And how do you feel about with the you said money that was sent over to pay for the food to feed the hungry? I believe it was over in Africa or Palestine or what have you. It was $2 million worth of food, and it's already over there, and the money is being held, and the food is already over there. The people are hungry, and it's already over there. Why are we holding the money? The deal was done. The food is already over there. We can't take it back. It's already there. The people are hungry. What good is it for us to not send the money?
Well, I think there's no good in it. And you should also know that there are lots of food products that were supposed to be going to some of these places that were produced by American farmers that are actually rotting because there's no one to actually push it out. And those contracts that have been canceled are affecting American farmers. We have to understand the United States rarely does anything for altruistic purposes. So one of the things that happens is when they give food aid, they're paying you American farmers to produce it. So if those contracts get canceled, it damages the budgets for small farms that are always on the cusp of going into bankruptcy. So there are a lot of farmers that are upset about the cancellation of USAID. That's kind of what happens. This global world has things that are connected. If you move one thing, something else gets affected. And so there are many farmers in ruby red states that voted for Trump in very high numbers that are quite upset that their contracts are being canceled because now they're not pushing food aid. So all of these things are happening. And I think that it is ridiculous that the wealthiest man in the world has been brought in to carve up programs that were supposed to support the poorest people on the planet. And it's like 1/2 of 1%, not 1%, 1/2 of 1%. And he destroyed that program. And so we have to now, the courts are now fighting. The courts are saying that those people couldn't just be fired. Let's see what happens. I think that we'll be in a constitutional crisis soon where Trump will just ignore the courts. I think there's a good chance he will just ignore them. What happens then? I don't know.
Well, I appreciate it. Honestly, I do. And just to make this final thing, I am not against America to the chat. I'm a sister of American, what do we call them, veterans. My brothers have served 20, 17 years. I have brothers and uncles and cousins. And right now, my grandson, right, has registered, and he goes every other weekend to his Army thing that he's registered in right now for his camp. And so my grandson will be serving soon.
Wow.
Right. And so have my nephews, but they're already out. So I'm not. So anybody else that want to serve their country and tell me about serving America and who hates America, it wouldn't be me. So put your neck on the line and talk to me about it.
Right.
But don't come to me talking about America and who loves America.
Right.
Thank you so much, Brother sa.neter
Okay.
and Deputy Jabari. Queen
Yeah.
All right. We got another one. We got let's go to Thendu.
Yes. And let's try to conclude if we can. I gotta get up in 5 hours. So
all right. This is the last one right here. This is the last one.
Did Thendo disappear?
Thendo, what's up?
No, I think he's there. He is. There he is. Okay.
Oh, sure. Morning, sa.neter. Morning, Nepal. Morning, Jabari. How are you?
Peace, brother.
Peace, brother.
Great. Jabari, I just wanted to touch on this USAID that you had mentioned just a minute ago.
Uh-huh.
I'm in South Africa, right?
Oh, wow. Peace, brother.
Right. So peace, brother. One or two things. Well, I'll just touch on the USAID, but I work for a university. We actually have a professor from Florida, and we are touching on the inequalities of education between USA and South Africa. But concerning this USAID, Jabbar, I don't know if you are aware of the Afrikaner people, white people in South Africa who, for lack of a better word, want asylum in America and meeting up with Donald Trump. So I just wanted to get your expert opinion. What do you think of this threatening of removing this aid that Trump is telling us that he would remove away from us? What are the impacts of that? Or do you believe that it is time for us now to stand up on our own 2 feet and then really make things happen for ourselves? I think I'll pause there. Thank you, Jabari.
Yeah. I truly believe that African people worldwide need to create systems that will allow them to be self-sufficient. But the reality is there is a debt owed. There is a debt owed. Many of the countries that are now independent in Africa, in the Caribbean and other places, actually are in some of the financial straits that they are in because of Western powers like the United States. Now, I'm not suggesting that aid is any form of reparation, but I am saying if the United States has interfered in countries, they should try to be part of the solution. And I also believe that when you have an extremely wealthy nation like the United States, the most wealthy nation in the world, I can't imagine why an extremely wealthy nation would not try to help the people who have the least resources. The people that are doing this call themselves Christians. And so for them to cancel programs for babies, you recognize that they are not Christians. And let's also be clear that Trump has argued that immigrants should not be in the United States, but he's now loosening the rules for white South Africans to come to the United States. So let's be clear that this is race. You don't have to use the N-word or to say something extremely noxious about Black people for the effects of your words to be clear. And I think that we need to recognize that what he is saying through his actions are clear. And we have to say, we must understand that we have to look at what they do, not just what they say. And so that's the situation that we're in.
All right, Jabari, I got one last one. And this is the brother that was here with us yesterday. What's up, my brother Simeon?
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Peace
Peace, what's up,
to Israel.
Peace, brother.
Bless to the brothers and the sister. And it's very surprising that when we speak about the United States, so many brothers and sisters want to celebrate it as if it's a great, it's like a home to us. When we see our brothers and sisters in the streets being suffering, getting killed for no reason, police attacked them. So if I would say to one thing of Donald Trump in the United States is if Donald Trump failed and the United States failed, it's something good. Why? Because Yahweh Shai gave that as a promise that Babylon, which is the United States, will fall. And I'm very glad that many brothers and sisters are recognizing that the end of the United States is coming. And that's all I wanted to say. Never say that United States your nation because we are not here for this is our nation. Look how we came over here, slave ships, and they still treating us like slave. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank to my father Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shi, and to the brothers and sisters of watching. You are an Israelite, you're not an American, and hail to America.
sa.neter, you're muted.
I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Brother Jabari, close us out, man.
I just have to really quickly on what the last comment was. I'm not praying for the fall of the United States, not until Black people are self-sufficient. We are not. So the reality is that I'm not praying for the fall of the United States. I would like the United States to look very different than it does today. And that's I think the remedy. And Black folks in the United States have constantly been trying to make the lofty rhetoric of the United States true. Now, let's be clear, it has not been true. It has not been an egalitarian place. It has not been a place where people can pursue their happiness and have families that are prosperous and whole. Because we know what these white supremacists did to Black people in this nation, as they forced us to come to this nation. So, I mean, that's the reality. I'm not arguing that that I'm supporting the United States for United States' sake, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to support the 33 million Black people that are within it. And I think the destruction of the United States would be very difficult for the 33 million Black people that are here. So I am for that in that instance, I'm concerned about it. Does that mean I am a patriot? I love the United States. It's hard to love an institution that has constantly sought to destroy you, right? But I truly believe that this nation must be better. I truly believe it must be better. I wanna say this really quickly before we close, sa.neter. You might notice that there were some people that were typing vociferously in the chat, and I said to them, if you have a disagreement, come on. I'm talking to Your Entertainment, T-Mac DC, Twilight Zone, Eddie Sazalak, Shaheem Parker, and The Watcher, at least. I think that it is time for us to question whether they are actually members of our community. Because they spent the entire 2.5 hours typing things that don't make sense. But when they had a chance to come on and actually articulate their points, of course, they would not do that. So let's just be clear that that is what is happening. I question whether they are even parts of our community. And look at Zaya Jones. Jabari is a demo rat's puppet. He only cares about LGBTQ rights, not Black America rights. I don't even know who's Black America rights. What, some of these folks, the stuff that they type, you wonder whether they are African Americans and speak English as a first language. We have to recognize that these folks are nothing but trolls, and they are probably not part of our community. It is time that we call them that, because we know that there are state actors and others that are here to disrupt our community. That's who they are. That's who they are. So anyway, let me say to you, family, I think we need to watch this very carefully. I think we need to be really aware of what is happening and try our best to ensure that our people will be in control of the narrative, in control of our communities, in control of our education, in control of our families. That's not what that's not the trajectory that this current administration wants us to be on, and we have to continue to fight. That's all I want to say on that particular issue. I'm hoping that we are going to focus on what is good for Black people and not simply become lackeys. Also, not become lackeys because we have a problem with the LGBTQ community. That's the issue. So many people are talking about transgender athletes. Do you know how many transgender athletes there are in the entire United States? There are millions of athletes. I think the number is less than 30. And so you need to understand that folks who are trying to undo and undermine your community think they have found something that is a shiny, dangling object that you will focus on rather than the true story. The reality is, I want everyone to be able to be who they are. I don't care if transgender athletes are trans. What do I care about that? Why do I care about that? Iowa just put up a law against LGBTQ folks. I don't even think there's one LGBTQ athlete in their entire state. But they are trying to have you focus on something that is a non-starter and a non-issue. We need to focus on what is good for us. And this is really, really important. With that, sa.neter, I'm going to see you again soon, brother. You have to come to Hunter one of these days for a class. I'm doing so many of them. Hopefully you'll join me for a class soon. And I know you, look at sa.neter's eyes. You know he's watching the Knicks Lakers game. You know he is.
Yeah.
I know what he's doing. And to be for real, I got it on too. So let's be real about what we're doing and keep moving.
No, but thank you for doing this, Jabari. We appreciate it. More people appreciate you than the few who are trolling.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that
we out, y'all. We out.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Peace.
All right.
Peace, everybody.